This is a joke. It's a joke.
Wait, I'm sorry. If somebody joked about you and said, oh my gosh, she's drinking every single night, she's got a drinking problem, you would be like, okay, let me call the lawyer up and file a defamation lawsuit.
No, I definitely would not.
You really would be okay with the Vice President of the United States claiming repeatedly in public that you have a drinking problem.
Abby Phillip on her CNN show went head-to-head with a couple of MAGA pundits, Batya Ungar-Sargon and Kristen Davison. The topic that Abby Phillip and her guests were discussing was Vice President J.D. Vance repeatedly making air quotes jokes about Kamala Harris having a drinking problem, and just being a troll in general. So why don't we take a look at some clips from Abby Phillip's CNN show in this roundtable debate. Abby Phillip was joined by Anna Navarro and Ashley Allison to go up against Batya Ungar-Sargon and Kristen Davison. Why don't we check it out together? I'm going to have my opinions. That's what I'm doing here. And then I want to know what you think in the comments. Let's roll it.
Tonight, Vice President Vance is insulting his predecessor, not for her policies or for anything to do with the Biden administration, but with a smear, claiming that she has a drinking problem.
I'm envious of Kamala Harris. The reason why I've been able to do a lot is because the president trusts me and he's empowered me with a lot of responsibilities. And it's made the job a lot of fun. I mean, as much as I joke about, I kind of wish that I could sleep until, 1 o'clock, take a couple of phone calls and then, hit the bottle after that, which I think was the Kamala Harris approach to being vice president. It would be really boring.
This is really, I want to be shocked, but it's not the first time he said it. To say that someone has a drinking problem just because you or whoever else made that up is wild to me, that would come out of the mouth of a sitting vice president.
Yeah, but I mean, he called her basically garbage on the campaign trail. So I'm not surprised. What does J.D. Vance do all day? Like, what is he actually doing? I don't know what he does as vice president.
A lot of podcasts.
Yeah, he seems to be on a press tour. So maybe he should keep her name out of his mouth.
Oh, snap. Yeah, I mean, I agree. He's like, oh, I'm really busy. I do a lot of things. What do you do, dude? I see you on shows like this, like mouthing off a lot. But what is J.D. Vance getting done?
You okay with that?
I think everyone needs to, Democrats, I really want you guys to have a comeback and start winning again. You got to relax and not take everything so seriously. I think that's why JD is a lot more popular than Harris and anyone else.
What
this is a joke.
About?
It's a joke.
Wait, I'm sorry. If somebody joked about you and said, oh my gosh, she's drinking every single night, she's got a drinking problem, you would be like, okay, let me call the lawyer up and file a defamation lawsuit.
No, I definitely would not.
You really would be okay with the Vice President of the United States claiming repeatedly in public that you have a drinking problem. Let me just play.
Absolutely. Just before she gets to that, imagine if Obama had done any of this. Imagine if any Democratic president had done or said any of this. The Republicans would have lost your minds. It is the epitome of bizarro land richness that these folks are like, hey, you guys need to relax. Look, authoritarianism, ICE grabbing people out of the streets, us blowing up boats in international waters extrajudicial. I mean, relax. You guys are tense. You need to just relax. What are you talking about?
What he said earlier this year about the same thing. I mean, it goes even beyond just that insinuation that he made in that interview. Listen.
You talked earlier about the role of the vice president and how it's different with each presidency. How are you doing the job differently than Kamala did it?
Well, I don't have 4 shots of vodka before every meeting. That's one way I think that Kamala really tried to bring herself into the role is these word salads, and I think that I would need the help of a lot of alcohol to answer a question the way that Kamala Harris answered questions.
What are we doing here, Batya? I mean, let's just for a second just talk about decency. Are we done with that now?
I'm kind of with Kristen. I thought it was funny.
How is that funny?
I gave him a really hard time 2 weeks ago because he excused the young Republican chat, which included the N-word and praise of Hitler. And that is the kind of thing that is not funny. It needs to be condemned. We talked about it here. This to me is just, I don't know. I just thought it was hilarious.
Democrats said that he had a thing with a
alcoholism
couch.
is
Like,
funny.
And we thought that was
He's making
gross.
fun of her word salad.
Not all
And,
Democrats.
you know,
he said in that interview that she hits the bottle every afternoon. He said in another interview she has 4 shots of vodka before every meeting. Look, I just think it's a question of basic decency. There are people who are alcoholics, but to then just smear somebody who was the vice president, whether you like her policies
This
or not.
was a narrative that they ran with, Republicans, during the campaign, trying to paint Kamala in that light. I feel that it's stupid and sophomoric, and there's no evidence to that, unlike the evidence that there is of the drinking problem that the Secretary of Defense had, for which there is plenty of. But I also think, look, we're getting too used to this and normalizing behavior that is simply beneath the office, right? I mean, regardless of who holds the office, there's behavior that is simply beneath the office of the vice president or of the U.S. president, and we shouldn't accept that or normalize it or laugh it off. Or
I think Anna Navarro makes an excellent point here. It's beneath the office. It used to be. There were veiled zings and there's innuendo and there's always been some salt in politics for sure. It's a dirty game. But I mean, to have J.D. Vance accusing Kamala Harris of word salad. I mean, hello. I mean, look at the White House. The glaring absence in all of these conversations is the fountain of BS that is Donald Trump. Right? I mean, Republicans won't bring it up. Yeah, they won't bring it up. Word salad, race to the bottom. It's coming from the top, folks. The call is coming from inside the White House. It is absolutely gone past the pale in terms of accusing your opponent of the crime of which you are guilty or about to commit. Is there any evidence to support Kamala Harris being an alcoholic? No, quite the contrary. As they say, it's Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, has a history of alcoholism, which he denies. So it really is bonkers to sort of brush this off and be like, guys, when it is Seth Meyers making fun of a sitting president, that is one thing. And that is, in some ways, the comedian's job to speak truth to power and to skewer power. When it is the sitting vice president or the sitting president or the sitting secretary of war talking like, school kids with this. I mean, literally, if you said it about Donald Trump, he'd sue you. So why is it cool for his vice president to say it about Kamala Harris? It's the double standard is just absolutely mind-boggling.
Can I ask you ladies what you thought of AOC's attack on Riley Gaines this week, where she said if you put this much fight into your swimming, you wouldn't have come in 5th? Like, did you think that was funny, or did that violate your sense of decency as well? Like,
AOC was clapping back to a diss that this woman had made against her. So I do think that that's worth noting. I also think that the Gavin Newsoms and the AOCs and the people who are trying to give it back as good as they get are responding to a standard that is coming out of the White House. It's important. Now, yes, they are sort of participating in this race to the bottom. Gavin Newsom would say, this is the fight you wanted to have. We were trying to play basketball. You guys want to have a knife fight. I'm not just going to stand here holding the ball while you stab me. I'm going to start fighting back. Whether that's right or not is definitely up for debate, but I don't think you can just say, well, what about both sides are doing it? Come on.
Didn't
she also make fun of one of the male? She said someone was short. I feel like she's gone after similar. She's had some crude.
You're talking about Jasmine Crockett.
Oh yeah. Well, there's been some crude jokes there. Just like how Gavin Newsom, who essentially just launched his presidential campaign, tweets pictures of couches at JD. Look, I don't like the humor. Women typically don't like the humor, but that's the podcast culture.
Listen,
the podcast culture. We are talking about the president and the vice president of the United States. Podcasts aren't making them talk like that. They are choosing to go on podcasts And, Kristen Davison acting as if Democrats are clutching their pearls. No, it's a legitimate point. It's a legitimate point. And when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, they wanted people to be fired for making jokes about that. So, look, I'm not telling you anything new by pointing out that MAGA are hypocrites, right? What continues to astonish me is the brazen way they can look someone who they know is intelligent dead in the eye and be like, oh, you're being ridiculous. I thought it was funny. Saying, first of all, it's the internet. It's the internet saying that J.D. Vance humps couches. I don't even remember how that started. So many ways to pick that apart. The fact that a Democratic lawmaker might point that out or make a veiled joke about it isn't them accusing J.D. Vance of being a drunk, right? Very different. It's absurd. Do I think that Vice President J.D. Vance actually has a sort of a couch fetish? No, that's ridiculous. It is the stuff of Monty Python. Accusing the vice president, the former vice president of the United States, of being an alcoholic has implications. And it's just made up out of whole cloth in the same way. This is the couch thing. I don't know how it started. It's an internet meme. He's going on talk shows and saying that Kamala Harris was a drunk and that it affected her cognitive ability. Right? You don't see the difference there. You don't see the difference there. And I love that, Batia Sargon here draws the line at Nazi stuff. I'm like, well, that's beyond the pale. but everything else is fair game, and it's just the way that things are now, folks. The way Seth Meyers actually said this the other night on a show that I thought was funny is like, we don't want to be talking about this stuff, right? We don't want to be talking about this stuff. We're talking about it because you won't shut up about it, and it makes us all feel crazy. So we all feel like we're insane. We're talking about it because you are driving this. Trump, Vance, everybody else is trying to do what Trump somehow does, and they don't do it. I don't want to say as well because that makes it sound like it's good, but Trump has this P.T. Barnum way of like, he calls it the weave. It is a literal word salad. And it's the right blend of outrageous and entertaining and stupid as hell. And somehow nothing sticks to him and nobody holds him accountable for it. And now the Millers and the Vances and the Hegseths and everybody are trying to like own the libs, and they don't know how to do it. So they just come off as assholes and trolls. And it's clear that that's what it is when anybody but Trump does it. But when Trump does it, we're all just kind of like, oh, wow, Trump being Trump. That's the president of the United States, folks. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. And J.D. Vance is just making up these stories about Kamala Harris's drinking. Like, what are you talking about?
The couch thing is also incredibly stupid. And also,
say it's
and
stupid,
look,
and that's what our
I've
panel on
said
it
that
talking
before.
about.
I mean, I think it is beneath
So if
the dignity of our politics
if I made
to
a
engage in
joke
that kind of
about
thing. So that's not anything that I have a
think it
problem
was
saying.
funny.
I wouldn't sit here and say sternly that we need to get back to decency.
Hold on, because unlike with Kamala Harris, for whom there is no evidence that she has a drinking problem, with Pete Hegseth, when he was under confirmation, there was several reports of him having had a drinking problem.
Okay, J.D. Vance is running for president, presumptively.
Has somebody told Trump? I thought Trump was running for 2020.
And is this what he thinks? Is this what he thinks is going to do it?
I don't know. Gavin's doing it.
The podcast circuit,
and he just launched.
All of that.
This is literally what Gavin Newsom is doing.
What was funny to me was J.D. Vance saying that he's going to run with Marco Rubio as vice president. I'm wondering what Marco Rubio is feeling about who's going to be on top.
He's over there in China right now while J.D. Vance is back here on podcast. Everyone, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, okay. This is a relatively short one. I think, look, none of us love this. I would love politics to be boring again. I would love politics to not be emotional again. Politics should not be emotional. It's not a football game. There's not a red team and a blue team. We're all Americans. We broadly agree. Divide and conquer is just one of the oldest strategies in the book, and they're using it to keep us distracted and fighting amongst each other so they don't have to govern for us, and they can just siphon all the money upwards, and it's a rip and run. And I know that dirt in politics where we are now, that Donald Trump is as much a symptom as he is a cause. He didn't start this, right? You can go back as far as Newt Gingrich, or you can go further back to Richard Nixon, you know. It's a dirty game. But Donald Trump has come along and Donald Trump's like kerosene on a fire that was already merrily burning. And many, many people are participating. I think it is incredibly disingenuous, as these MAGA pundits try to do, to sort of be like, look, everybody's doing it. What do you want? Shrug. I also don't think you can just have a conversation like this and snap your fingers and it goes away. I think we need to get corruption out of our government. I think that is going to take grassroots efforts on a town by town and city by city and then a state by state basis until we can get the people who are, you know, incentivized to not change the system out of there. And I choose to believe that we can still do that is still possible, that hope is not lost. But, you know, part of it has to be looking women like this in the eye and being like, girl, please, come on. Come on. It's gaslighting. You are gaslighting us. This is fine. This is fine with you. Well, it's just words. Words mean something, right? Words have to mean something. If words don't mean anything, then truth doesn't mean anything. Then nothing means anything. And it's just like, oh, well, what the hell? Turn the plane into the ground. Come on. Wake up. Stop propagating it. I mean, how much do they pay you? It can't be enough. I think that some of these pundits get paid the Scott Jennings of the world, I think they get paid very handsomely. And I think they think this is a pretty good gig. And all I have to do is get on here and spout this crap. It has an eroding effect, and it is going to come around and touch you. It is. When I see Marjorie Taylor Greene changing her tune and saying it's because her adult kids are going to be affected by healthcare, I believe that. I believe that she changes her tune when it touches her. But as idiotic as some of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene says, I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't get where she gets without being a shrewd politician, right? And in his own way, Donald Trump is a shrewd politician. I think J.D. Vance is not good at it. I think J.D. Vance is a craven scumbag who has absolutely no qualms about saying disgusting things, but I don't think he has the same political instincts. With a Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think she's got one eye on the window and the other eye on the door, and like a rat leaving a sinking ship, her instincts are like, I'm going to need an exit here pretty soon, and I'm going to go ahead and commit to carving myself out an option for being like, hey, look, I didn't like where this was headed as of the end of 2025, folks. Remember when I started calling it as I saw it? And I think we're starting to see that as the cracks in this administration are starting to be more and more apparent. Now, that's not like I'm ready to get out my, my victory banner and celebrate yet. I think, they're still flying this plane, and it's going to crash and burn, but we're all on the plane. And we can't, they're pushing for violence, so we can't give them that. They want to grant themselves emergency powers to quell the national emergency they keep trying to create. We can't give them that. We have to keep calling it out. But I'm exhausted, man. And this healthcare thing that's going to affect me. My rates are going to go up. I can't afford that. Can any of us? Can any of us afford it? And I'm fortunate enough not to need the SNAP benefits, but there are millions of Americans who do. And we're sitting here and they go on talk shows and they're talking about Kamala Harris having a drinking problem, they're just trolls. They don't have a policy. The trolls are all just trying to distract us from the very real, very illegal crap that is currently going on. Ugh. I always get myself depressed talking about this stuff. Look, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. We gotta bind together at the local level, make real meaningful relationships with your community. If you have the bandwidth to run for local office in your town, do it, man. Get involved. Set a better standard. I have thought about it. I said I'm not in a position to do it. I have thought about it. I'm not there yet. But I'm actively participating in my local politics in a way that I never have before. And you know what? Yeah, it's dry. It's not the most exciting thing in the universe, but it feels good. It feels good to engage directly in my community, and I encourage you to do it too. At least think about it. Look around and see what's available. There's lots and lots of different ways to get involved. And I'm going to choose to end on that inspirational and uplifting note, but I do want to know what you think in the comments about all of this. For me, the headline of this video is, look at the effing hypocrisy and how bald-faced it has become. Let me know what you think in the comments.